You're real tough during the break, FP, and I wonder if you have the courage, and I said to Lucas that you won't have the courage to bring that kind of heat that you were spitting during the break to the air.
Dude, I spit it for 4 hours yesterday. I'm worried about the Lions. But this is my shtick, dude. I do it every week. Not every week, but whenever the Niners have tough competition, I'm literally worried about the Lions. If you would have asked me this 3 or 4 weeks ago, I didn't think the Lions are the team they are right now, but they have so much momentum. Jared Goff's playing at the peak of any time he's ever played in his life. His confidence level, their momentum. I'm worried about this game. Everyone's just like, oh, the Niners are going to roll. The Niners are going to roll. I think so many times this year as Niner fans, including myself, we were overconfident. And I think last week kind of put things into perspective for me that a hot team can come in here and steal a game. And the Packers were a hot team. The Packers were a good team. Love is a quarterback that's on the rise, and I think he's the next guy. And the Niners escape with a win. They have this week to get their S together, but yeah, it's going to be a dry track. We're all blaming it on the rain. Everybody's blaming it on the weather. The Packers were a good team. They came in here and smacked the Niners right in the mouth. And I think the Lions are going to do the same thing. Do I think the Lions are going to win? There's part of me that does. Am I rooting for the Niners? I'm just worried about this game.
You're worried about it?
I'm worried about it. I'm not going to sit here and say Lions are going to win. I'm not that sure, but I'm damn sure scared. I really am.
You're getting more scared by the day, too.
I think I'm talking myself into it, and that's kind of what I do, and I'm an overthinker, and I overthink everything in my life.
You're talking yourself into Lions are going to win.
You should see me on the chips aisle, overthink what chips I want to buy, because that's my favorite aisle in the grocery store.
Very
so I
simple.
overthink everything. It's
Late
not very
July.
simple.
Late July tortilla chips.
Those are very good.
They're
I'm
great.
a big fan.
It's an elite chip.
I'm a chip connoisseur.
Yeah.
Mrs. Vicky's jalapeno. You can't beat them.
You should get the, I don't know if you have this, but the Yucca app.
Similar chips.
You can use an app called Yucca where you can scan the item and it gives you a score from 1 to 100 on how healthy it is.
Oh, really?
Yucca.
Okay. I'm going to do it right now. You just start talking.
I will start talking. Right. And 888-957-9570 is the phone number. We're asking about pressure. Who's under more pressure, Shanahan, Purdy, or the D-line? And while FP tries to download apps.
I don't know how to spell that.
It's just YUCCA, I believe.
All right.
And you can figure it out from there. You're a smart guy. Mark Grandy was mentioning this earlier when we were on the phone heading into the show. And if you look at these two teams, they are remarkably similar. You look at the quarterback. Brock Purdy, 267.5 yards a game. Jared Goff, 269. And the completion percentages are close. Goff is at 67. Purdy's at 69, slightly better. Statistically, Purdy 31-11 TD to interception ratio. Goff 30-12. The quarterback numbers are near identical. Now, Goff had more yards. He played one more game than Purdy. But in terms of overall effectiveness, they're very close. I already mentioned the rushing yards where you had Montgomery and Gibbs combined for 1960, and you add in Reynolds with 179, about 2,100. And you look at the Niners between McCaffrey, Mitchell, Mason, and Debo, it's about 2,100 yards. Almost identical in numbers of touchdowns as well. The big change is in wide receiver. The Detroit Lions had Amon-Ra St. Brown be the primary receiver, 119 catches for 15, 15, and 10. Well, the Niners had Brandon Ayuk, of course, who went over 1,000 yards at 13:42, but they also had a tight end go for 1,000 yards as well, while Detroit's tight end, Sam Laporta, just shy of 1,000 at 900. So when you make the comparisons, FP, and you go back and forth, QB, close, running game, close, receivers, close, tight end, close, what does it come down to? For me, it comes down to Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan, the experienced coach, versus Dan Campbell, who's biting kneecaps, and he's in his first conference championship game. That's where the Niners have the big edge.
So the Niners, according to Pro Football Focus, have the number 1 offense in the NFL this year to go with the number 2 defense. The Lions have the number 2 offense and the 20th ranked defense.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's a big separation.
Absolutely.
According to NFL.
So
Focus,
the Niners were 1 in defense and 2 in offense. Is that right?
That's what I'm not reading right now, and that was off the top of my head.
Yeah, you came up with that. You can read it.
I'm reading it right
you
here.
You gave them props.
USA Today.
You gave PFF the nod that they needed.
Yeah.
So I think that is an interesting way to look at this game because the Lions defense, good against the run, terrible against the pass. Niners defense has been good against the run all year. Now, they weren't great on Saturday against Green Bay, and they weren't great against the pass either at times, with a couple of big PIs and a couple of broken coverages that resulted in big plays as well. if the Niners play up to their stats, their PFF stats, then this game should be a blowout.
Well, I mean, they're similar because they're the last two teams standing in the NFC.
Sure.
They are the best teams in the NFC. So, I mean, let's do this. This is why I'm scared, Dibs, and I'm not going to sit here and drop stats on you, although I could read them. But I think it comes down to momentum, and I think the Lions have more momentum than the 49ers do.
And I think that momentum
scares me. That doesn't mean I think they're winning. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Momentum is non-existent to me in the NFL.
Really?
Yes. You're talking about a week later and a trip across the country and two teams that didn't play each other. For me, momentum in football, pro football, is non-existent. Now, if you're playing well, yeah, and both teams, I think, have been playing well. Like you said, both teams are the last team standing. And the 49ers have lost one game since the bye, and that was against Baltimore. They lost to the Rams, I know, but that to me that doesn't really count because it was your second team against their second team. And the Lions have come in off of a great regular season and back-to-back home wins in the playoffs. So for me, the momentum thing, to give the Lions all the momentum in this game for me is misguided and it's overblown, and I won't stand for it.
You're not standing for it? You don't feel like a belief amongst a team in a locker room stands for anything? It's all just numbers and analytics?
It does stand for something, but I think that you're giving the Lions more self-belief than the Niners have.
You know what? I'll give you that because I'm really getting caught up in the Dan Campbell speeches. So much so that I got to stop watching. I even posted on my Instagram story the other day, the one he did at Hard Knocks, where he's talking about like how there's four teams in there's four teams in the NFC that'll get you in the shallow waters, and we're going to drag them out to the deep water, and we're going to drown them. And I'm just like, wow. And I'm a sucker for motivational speakers. I'm a sucker for a coach that can fire you up.
And they've backed it up.
And I think Kyle is more the guy you'd want to play for, right? Because he's not high highs. There's no low lows.
Yeah.
I feel like Dan Campbell's the guy that if you have a bad game, he might look at you differently because he seems to have a little front runner in him. And usually the more vocal, enthusiastic coaches have that. But there's just something about him and his dynamic and the way he's taken a franchise that was just a doormat for all these years and got him to this level. And here we are, Niners fans, and we get upset if they don't play well and lose, or they don't play well and win, excuse me. And we get upset on how they won, and we like to dissect how they won. And we're upset that they won in a way they shouldn't have won, and they should have blown this team out. And then you have another fan base
more expectant.
That's a little more blue collar. And
they're hungrier for sure.
Hungrier, and so I'm a sucker for that. I am. I
get that,
and I'm scared of that. And I'm going to have my big blank Brock shirt on that I wear every Sunday, my red shirt that has a rooster on it. And I'm going to have my Niners hat on, and I'm going to go to my favorite. Well, I'm with the family this weekend,
right?
But I'll be screaming and yelling at the TV for the Niners. But for some reason, and anybody that used to listen to my old show, I do this a lot. I overthink things, and I'm a worry wart. This one legit has me worried.